Hi, I'm Mal from the Money Study, bringing you another episode of our Take 10 Challenge, and this is number 76. Still talking about our kids, but our kids are a lot older now. They're into college or uni, and how we deal with them and their money. So there's my disclaimer: facts, figures, information only. This is not advice. I think this is probably the most difficult age in a way, talking to our kids about money, because definitely they're under a lot of pressure. They're studying hard, hopefully, and when they're trying to, especially if they're doing full-time uni, it really is tough, but even more so if they're trying to support themselves financially. And so it can be a bit daunting as a parent, and can be daunting for the person involved. Absolutely. So whether you're a young person listening or a parent listening to this, I wish you all the best going forward. But there is the typical issues of reality. We're going to need a car probably to get around, and of course, understanding that that comes with expenses. So if it is a case that the parents are helping out, at least for the child should be acknowledging what's going on, and hopefully, if they can't do work elsewhere to earn money, at least they could be doing some stuff around the house to make things a little bit easier. But yeah, explaining, the fact that a car's got to have third-party insurance as a bare minimum. There's all the excesses, because if it's a younger person driving the car, there's going to be excesses if anything does happen. And of course, understanding all the running costs, repairs and maintenance and so forth. But a car is one of those big things that, big expense, generally speaking, and thousands of dollars a year just to keep it on the road. And I think it's important that they do understand that's involved. Whether they go off to a private college like in grades 11 and 12, or whether they can, it is a case of a public or a private. Obviously, generally speaking, that comes down to a parent's choice. But again, it's a case of parents making sure that children understand that if they are going to a private, that they've done it for certain reasons, and that there is a cost involved. I'm not overly convinced, at that age, that going to a private is necessary. I believe by the time they get to that age, that I think they can cope with the conditions, dare I say. And there's some very good public colleges in Australia these days. We sort of mentioned a bit about this peer pressure business. It still certainly happens in grade 11 and 12, perhaps not quite so much in uni. And because uni's sort of changed a bit even since COVID, a lot more things online, and there isn't that get together as much that used to be, which is, I think, is a rather an unfortunate scenario. But certainly in college, there's a lot of peer pressure to be wearing the right sort of brand names and so forth. If we can break that habit and suggest to them, yep, you just need to be sensible, be comfortable. You don't have to have a brand name blazoned on your chest. But I think the big one we get to uni and so forth is perhaps the fact that might be living away from home. And so if they're living away at home at the university, then of course we've either got, the renting, they might have to pay a bond for the rent somewhere. There's all their contents insurances. They'd be paying for the electricity, water, gas, and so forth. And of course, they may need some furniture in the unit or wherever they are renting. Now, all of that, so you start adding up those sort of costs, and it certainly can be quite expensive. And so again, is it to say this is where, if you can afford to do it, okay, and I don't mind helping children. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind parents helping children, and if you can afford to do it, great. But what I'm trying to get across here with these sessions is the fact that they need to understand what's going on. It shouldn't be an expectation. It shouldn't be their right for you to pay for it. They shouldn't expect you to pay for it. There should be something coming back in return, be it either, a hell of a lot of gratitude, but really ideally helping out around the house if they are living at home. But if they've moved out, obviously, it is a case that, that they are perhaps got some sort of a part-time job or something to at least take some of the burden off you as a couple. But it's a tricky one. But I think it is a case that it's just going to come down to a scenario individually as to what can be afforded and what can't be afforded. But I just don't want to happen here is that the parents are making such a huge sacrifice to get their child through uni that their retirement is being decimated because they're giving up all the money that should be going into their superannuation. It really is no benefit to your child to get them through uni if you then are going to turn around and be a huge burden to them because you've got no money in retirement. It needs to be spelled out that if you're getting to that sort of age and your superannuation is nowhere near good enough to retire on, that you point out, that if we're going to help you in uni and I don't have enough super, you're going to have to help us when you finally do get work based on your university graduation. Yeah, tough conversations, but a bit of reality certainly doesn't hurt anybody, that's for sure. We sort of mentioned some of these allowances and so forth when we were talking about the help debt a few sessions or so ago, but I think it is important that you do go looking, because I had a mother not so long ago who didn't think her daughter would be eligible, literally because she was still at home, but there certainly are subsidies and so forth. It just comes down to incomes, assets and so forth. And so please make sure you know what they are eligible for. And there's a string of them there. Just jump on, get onto the Services Australia website, go on to the section all on youth payments and so forth. There used to be some calculators, I'm not too sure that they're still there or not, where you could sort of punch in details and would spit out whether you were eligible or not, at least give you a bit of an idea. Apprenticeships, it's a crazy really that apprenticeships are paying people to learn, whereas people like nurses and so forth have to go and work and do their placement for free. It just sort of doesn't really make a lot of sense why a electrician or a plumber can get paid to really learn their trade, but a nurse and even the teachers and so forth, when they get their placements, are doing it for free of charge. It's really, to me, makes no sense why that's the case. But this is how these work. So it is a case of, if you've got an apprenticeship, can be really, okay, apprenticeship's not going to pay you a hell of a lot of money in the earlier days, but then why should you? Because you're still learning how to do your job, and you still are learning. You're going to be spending time doing your study and so forth. So, but what a great way to, rather than having to have a part-time job and study, apprenticeships can certainly be a very nice way to kickstart your career or your profession, so to speak. Because, not everybody needs to go to university, and I think parents shouldn't be forcing kids who really, it's just not in their genes to be a studier, be a scholar. And would they be better off literally going and doing some sort of a trade or an apprenticeship or something? It's interesting to see the difference what a trade person can do in those first 4 years or so, earning income and getting themselves established at the same time that some at a uni. Yes, they'll hopefully get paid more because of their qualifications, not necessarily. But I think these sort of decisions really obviously come down to the person, whether they want to go to uni, whether they should go to uni. Are they going to uni just literally because all their friends are, but they've really got no idea what they want to do? Is having a gap year useful to get your head around it? But this gap year can be useful to work out, hopefully, but it depends on what you're doing in that gap year. Because if you're just lazing around the house and playing video games, having a chill out, well, no, I'm sorry, that's not the way the world works either. And so it's a case of that gap year should be used constructively. Could be a case of just going out and getting some part-time jobs just to feel what it's like to go and work. And as a parent, I think that should be strongly encouraged. If they're going to have a gap year, and especially if they're still living at home, that they're not just sponging off you, that you would do and say, okay, we're quite happy if you have a gap year, but it's going to be for you to work out what you need to do. Within 12 months, you're going to tell us what you're actually planning to do, where you're going to go, how you're going to do it, where's the money going to come from, and really spell it out and have a plan. So have a plan and set the goals, what you're trying to do. I think it's very, very difficult for someone coming out of grade 12 or so to really know what they want to do in life. It's a very difficult thing to all of a sudden have to make a decision. But of course, the beauty of today is that just because you may have decided to do a particular trade or do a degree or something at uni, the amount of people that don't see those through and change halfway through because they just realise, accountancy is not for them. Anyway, changes are possible. Nothing is permanent. It really is a case of more a case of sitting down between parents and children and or sitting down with friends, even colleagues, whatever it may be, to sort of nut out where you're going, what are you trying to do. If you want to bounce a few ideas around us, and we're here for more obviously on the money side of things and how it could work out, happy to have a chat and look forward to you joining us on another session.